Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Brianna and today's video is brought to you by a snow day. I do not have to teach today, so here I am making a video. As you probably guessed from the title, today is going to be about 8 things that I learned when I was writing my first novel. So, without further ado, here are 8 things that I wrote while writing my first novel in no particular order. Number 1, write what you love. My first novel, I literally wrote down a list of all of the things I love and the stories that I've written and read, and I just smashed it all into one story. And that motivated me to want to get it done. Now, by the end, I took out some things and changed up some things, but having all of that in there made it so that I wanted to write it and I wanted to get to it because it had things that I loved in it. In another vein of this, if you are writing a story and you see something or you're writing it and it's just clunky and you're not loving it for like multiple chapters, then maybe you just need to put it on the back burner. I am a big advocate of things simmering in the back of your head while you're not thinking about them. So later on, maybe you'll get that piece that will make you love that story. So let it simmer, put it back there. If you love the parts, but you don't love the whole, maybe it just is missing a few things. All right, number 2, you should outline or at least have a plan. When I first started writing this novel, I had a list of things that I wrote out. I didn't end up following that list very well, but what I did follow was set goals of things that I needed to happen within the story. I had slightly big things that needed to happen, and I made sure I got to those points. And the road was kind of like this when I got there, but I got to it, and I liked what I had in between. Now, I will say that by the end of the novel, I did have a list of things that I needed to get done. I literally did chapter by chapter by chapter to get it done because I was brain fried by that point. I had been writing this novel for 6 months straight, and I wanted to get it done for NaNoWriMo because I wanted to start a new novel. So I just had that list, and it was really nice to just be able to go back and be like, okay, this is what needs to happen next. So it's good to have a plan. It's good to know where you're going because it will make the writing process seem a little less overwhelming if you have an idea of where you are going to go with the story. Number 3, creativity is an engine, experience is a fuel. Now, I'm getting a little metaphorical here, but I do believe that when you are writing a story and you are sitting there writing it every single day, and you just write and write and write and write, and you don't do anything else, your creativity well is just gonna go down, and you're not gonna have anything to fuel the ideas that you want to write. You don't have the experiences and the things in life to get your story where it needs to go. So you need to take breaks from stories and you need to take breaks from writing and you need to go hang out with friends and watch a movie and just take a class or something. Do something other than writing because you need to live in order to write. Because if you don't have those experiences fueling your brain, even if it has nothing to do with what you're writing, you're gonna run out and you're gonna hit a rut and you're just gonna get to a standstill and not know what to do in your novel. So you have to live, you have to experience things in order to get where you want to go. Okay, so number 4, try to write every day. And I mean try, because there have been days where I sat down for 10 minutes and all I got out was 10 words. But there have also been other days where I sat down for 10 minutes and I got in a flow and I ended up writing 1,000 words. And on each of those days, I had zero motivation to write. But depending on the day, I got a different amount of work done. If you need the break, step away, but at least try, and you might end up getting a lot more done than you thought you would. So, Number 5 is the plan you had at the beginning of the story might not make it to the end. I had decided that this novel was going to be set in a fae world. It was on my list of things that I loved, and it was going to be set in that fae world. But by the end of the story, I realized it just wasn't working. It didn't fit with what I wanted for the story. So I ended up changing it. And when I write, the story is what drives me forward. I am not a force that makes it go where I want to. I am learning about the story and the world and the people in it, and they are what drive it forward, not me. And I'm just figuring out what it wants to do. So, number 6, in the same vein as number 7, is your characters may surprise you. Now, in writing this novel, I wanted this main character, and I thought of this main character as someone who was eloquent, who knew how to talk, who knew how to tell stories and everything. But by the end, I realized she wasn't eloquent. She grew up in a forest. She grew up as this feral child, and she wouldn't be eloquent. She was rough and tumble, and she doesn't know how to say the right things to people. That's just who she is. And then I had another character I was writing as kind and gentle, and I realized he was actually very rude and very aloof, because of the life that he had lived beforehand and the interests that he had. And when I figured this out, things clicked better, and I started writing the story a lot more smoothly, and it felt right after I figured out those things. Okay, so number 7 is do the impulsive and the cheesy stuff. I am not impulsive. I am pretty cheesy. I like my puns. But when I was writing, there were a few scenes where I was like, I should do this. This sounds cool in part of my brain. And then the other part of my brain was like, this is weird. I don't like it. But I wrote it. I did it anyways because I knew that 1, I needed to get the novel done. And 2, at the end, I might end up liking the impulsive things. It makes the story interesting to do the interesting impulsive things. So I did them. And by the end, I did end up liking quite a bit of what I did impulsively. And the stuff I didn't like, I just changed and took out. So do the impulsive and the cheesy. Number 8, my final choice, or final lesson learned, is actually a quote by Ernest Hemingway. It is, "The first draft of anything is shit." I had this as the wallpaper on the back of my phone. Now, I know this seems like a weird thing to have as the wallpaper while you are writing a story, but for me, it was motivational. It gave me permission to write a crap draft because by the end, when I had edited everything, I could edit the crap out. I could make it good. And it didn't matter that as I was writing this particular scene, the dialogue was super clunky and there was zero description in it because I knew that later on I would be able to edit it and make it better and make it what it needed to be. So let your first draft be crap. It doesn't matter. Just get it done and fix it when you are editing. So, those are the 8 lessons I learned while writing my first novel. Were these things that you kind of connected with, or were there some other things that I didn't mention that you learned while writing? So, comment down below, give me your answers, and thank you again for watching my video, and I hope to see you again sometime. Bye!